J. Smith Cameron, you co-star in the film Nancy as Ellen, who thinks she might have found her daughter who went missing 30 years earlier. First of all, how did you first come across the script?
Hmm. Well, I just got contacted sort of out of the blue by the writer-director, and she was really well-spoken. She just described the script to me first, and then she sent it to me, and I thought it was really unusual. And I thought the character, I identified with the character easily, and I was a fan of Andrea Riseborough's, so I got very excited about it.
And what about the character did you feel like you could identify with when you read that script?
Yeah, I felt like I could. Well, I'm a mother in real life, and I think you don't even have to be a mother in real life to feel for someone in that situation. Situation being that my character had her daughter kidnapped, or she disappeared while at a mall. And it's one of those things, I think they call that ambiguous loss, where you can't really grieve the person has gone because there's no resolution. You don't really know what happened. So I think, especially if you're a mother, as I am, you really, it's your worst fear. So I very much identified with that.
And was it very challenging to get into that mindset, having to kind of embody that feeling of such profound loss? Was there any other research or preparation involved?
I don't know about No, I don't know about research or preparation, although I like to do those things in general. But I think that this was a case of just really being able to empathize with the character and having an instinctive knee-jerk reaction to what the situation was. And I had very good rapport with Steve Buscemi, who plays my husband in the film. And it was also a very chill set. I don't know if you know this about Nancy, but it was all the department heads on that film were women. 80% women worked on the film of the employees, and 50% were people of color. So it was a very deliberately very diverse group. And it was not just exciting because it was diverse, but it had this like really wonderful feeling of camaraderie on set. So it made, and it was very intimate. Like it was a rather small budget film and very intimate. So it was kind of easy to sort of forget you were on camera. You kind of just be in the room, and that was just really lovely.
And what was the shooting schedule like? Was it very tight? Did you have time for rehearsals?
Well, we would talk about scenes a little bit. We rehearse. Sometimes Christina would have us do a take where we just improved a little bit. We usually made our day really on time. It was a very relaxed. I don't want to presume that had to do with the number of women involved, but it might have had to do with the number of women involved. It was a very relaxed, nurturing, introspective kind of set. It was snowing like mad upstate. It was shot upstate New York, and a blizzard hit while we were doing the film. So, when that happens and you're inside, you just kind of, there's a feeling of shelter, and you kind of huddle together, and it makes everybody take a giant step towards each other in terms of just being comfortable and familiar, and you're, sharing coffee, or you're sharing Kleenex, or you're just, you know what I mean? You're kind of like, there's a feeling on set that's very relaxed and very warm. And that, I think, had to do, in my mind, that had to do with that there was this inclement weather, and we had to kind of hunker down.
And with an intimate film like this, it takes place over mostly over a few days, and in mostly this one location. Was it ever challenging to kind of convey this sense of these lived-in characters to make them feel like full lives, even just getting a sense of that over these few days?
It seems like there would, and I don't know why it wasn't a big deal. I think we just lucked out. We had like I said, we had sort of a rapport or good chemistry or whatever you want to call it. And I feel like there was, we were on a wavelength. It was one of those really wonderful, wonderful times when you happen to be working with people that you seem kind of like-minded with, that you can become in sync with without too much fuss. we talked a little bit about it. Sometimes we'd have to warm up a little bit to the situation, but because we shot all the scenes that happen in the house sort of in the same few days, there was almost a sense of continuity, which is unheard of in films. You don't really shoot in order. But when you have a location that's that specific, and they had it for a very specific amount of time, we didn't have to do like scenes wildly out of order. We could kind of do what was best for us as artists, which was nice. And also Andrea's character is really feeling uncomfortable. She's sort of a serial impersonator. She's not a con artist, but she pretends to be people she's not, but not for any gain. She's just seeking connection with people, I think. And when she sees my character and Steve's character, we were on television making an announcement about our missing daughter, and she actually thinks she might really be our missing daughter. I think she authentically wonders about that. But she's so when she gets there, she's a little overawed. It's like it's a little intense for her. So her character is feeling uncomfortable. So Steve and I immediately, as characters and I guess as actors, immediately began to try to put her at ease, because that's what our action was in the scene. And that kind of helped jumpstart a kind of intimacy amongst us, I think.
And with that, Andrea Riceborough character of Nancy, as you mentioned, she's kind of a serial impersonator. She's a little bit, she's unreliable. Certainly, she's a little elusive. And your character is much more open sooner. What's it like trying to play that? Which at a certain point there's like a one-way kind of affection there, and then it gradually becomes sort of two ways as that relationship develops.
Yes, Nancy character, Andrea's character, is sort of stiff and she's a bit of an eccentric character to begin with, and then she's also sort of goes through a little wave of not knowing how to be around us. And then Christina described this when we first met. We met over lunch when she first sort of pitched this idea to me of being in the film. She said, she thinks of it as actually kind of a love story between the Nancy character and the Ellen character, because they both have this need for a mother-daughter relationship. So the need is there, and then they're very ready to step up and fill that in where they can, if that makes sense. So what happens is, I think it starts off a little awkward, like when you meet someone new, and then they genuinely really fall for each other. They really connect, and everyone begins to relax and be themselves a little bit. Ironically, it's a little bit of a paradox, but I think, both women in different ways are sort of overwhelmed by it. It's like, getting into a hot bath when you've been freezing cold for hours. It's like a thawing out happens in the story, where they're go from being tentative, meeting each other, to really kind of falling for each other and really having an authentic connection, even though they maybe aren't who they think they are, but to each other, but they have a legit connection that really happens in the story. And that's sort of the story of the film, is that arc of them, that even if it starts off as artificial, it becomes something very genuine. And he was Steve's character too, ultimately.
And working with Christina Cho, the director, this is her first feature film. What's it like working with her? What was she like on set? What's her approach like? You mentioned that it was a very, very smooth production.
Yeah, she's great. I would never thought it was her first directorial, production. She's sort of a badass, and she's, without coming on strong, she's laid back, but she's unapologetic. She kind of knows what she wants. She's frank. She's very frank and direct. And I really dig that. I really enjoyed working with her. Everyone did. And then she also had surrounded herself with, a great DP, a great assistant director, all these people that help the production run along were also very confident and relaxed, and it was, it worked well.
And in a way, the character you play in Nancy, as a mother, kind of reaching out, trying to develop this relationship, this elusive relationship with a child. It reminded me a bit of your role in Rectify, for several seasons recently. Did you ever think of them as like those characters as like kind of kindred spirits?
Yeah, I see what you mean, because they both have they're both kind of withdrawn, and they have a sense of loss about their offspring, and that they're missing their children, and they're both experienced getting them back, or thinking they were getting them back, and they're gently coming out of the shell, that the protective shell they're in. Ellen is much closer to my personality, I think. Probably the character Nancy is, she's a writer, she's not an actor, but she's kind of part of the world, closer to what my day-to-day life is. It's a little bit more just going from, what would you do if you were in this situation? Would you, Jay? How would you react to this? And then go from there. And it sort of, I felt like it unfolded in a way that made sense to me. I guess I have enough in common with the character that made sense to me. So, whereas Janet in Rectify is from a different culture, and a different, almost from an earlier time, like time stopped when her son went into prison. So she's almost like further adrift, if that makes sense.
In Nancy, you have an especially emotional scene where you actually kind of recount the day that Ellen's daughter went missing. Was that especially challenging to shoot? What did that take a long time to shoot?
Well, remember I mentioned it was snowing there? Well, it started to genuine full-on blizzard during that scene. It was not written to be that way. In fact, I think I heard Christina say somewhat recently that originally she conceived that scene to be in the summertime, and they were like in a boat. So here we were, snow pouring down on us in upstate New York. So we didn't really have time to get self-conscious. We had to jump into the scene because it was inclement weather, and we had, I don't know, we kind of cut to the chase. And also we had been building up to that. I mean, when you're playing a part like that, that's always just in the top drawer of your chest of drawers of your emotions. That's the thing that's underneath everything about Ellen, is that story is running in a track somewhere in her mind all the time about how the day when she lost her daughter. And so when we went to shoot it, it was right there. It was just beneath the surface. I think those two facts made it kind of just come. And also, we were allowed to sort of, we did some takes. I don't remember what was used, whether we used scripted or improv, but we did, she gave us some room to kind of wing it some as well.
Your performance, you earned a nomination at the Independent Spirit Awards, and Christina Cho's screenplay also was nominated there. The great thing about the Spirits is that they recognize independent films, and this year I think they really went out of their way to support like some lesser known or under the radar films. What was it like getting that recognition?
Well, I just was so not expecting it. It was incredible. A couple of people I work with called me and said, you've been nominated for this award. And I was like, what? It didn't register for a little while. I'd been to those awards a few times with my husband, who's a filmmaker, and it's a particularly fun, night it's a particularly fun, freewheeling kind of celebration. So I was also just excited that I would get to go to that because it's such a particularly fun night.
And what do you hope ultimately, audiences, find this film? What do you hope they take away from it?
Well, I think, I guess what I take away from it is that it is actually, even if you aren't a serial, impersonator, it's hard in this world that we live in. We're talking through the internet. We're talking through cyberspace. More and more, we live through social media and on our phones or on our laptops or devices. and it's harder and harder. You can get kind of estranged from real human contact with people. So for me, it's a little bit of an allegory about people, because her first, in Nancy, in the story of Nancy, Andrea's character first has a whole story with John Leguizamo's character, and they sort of originally meet online. And so anyway, I think that the part of the story is, what is it like if you really meet someone in person, and what it means to be in person in a relationship in your life, not just literally, not online, but figuratively too. And it's about connection, like letting your guard down, what it costs to make a genuine, warm connection with someone, and what you lose when it goes away. I mean, it's what everyone craves. I think it's human nature. It's in our DNA to really need that kind of connection. It's harder and harder to find, and it's if you let your guard down and you let someone in, it's very hard to lose. You have to risk losing them. So I feel like that's a pretty universal theme that everyone can relate to, and I have a feeling that people who see the film are going to find that aspect irresistible.
Well, congratulations on the film and on the Spirit nomination for it. And thank you so much for talking to me today about it.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.